Well, greetings and salutations, everybody. Welcome to the newest edition of Open Mic. We are so glad that you're here and joining us today. This, of course, is a more laid-back, kind of relaxed version of our show, if you will. Chilled out, because all we're really going to do is just talk about the things that you guys want us to talk about. I am, of course, John Campea. Good to have you guys here. Joining me here, of course, for this installment of Open Mic is Robert Meyer-Burnett.
John, good to be here. Today really is game day, and I am very excited.
It is, before we get to that, though, I don't, it's very, very rarely you come in and I don't understand the shirt. What's the shirt?
This is a very obscure shirt. It is from the Warriors.
Walter, it is from the Warriors.
It's the gang that their leader, Cyrus, is who calls the enclave of gangs 9 delegates from 100 gangs, and he gets assassinated by the rogues, and this is their logo.
I don't think I've ever seen you wear that one.
The Gramercy Riffs. I've worn it a few times. It's just too obscure. It's it's not fun if people don't know what you're wearing.
Oh no, it makes it fun to try and figure it out. That's what makes it fun. Speaking of fun, you're right. Today is a game day, unlike many. I mean, it's always a big game day when there's a big episode of something or a big movie coming out, but it's a special game day when it's a series premiere. And tonight, for those of us on the West Coast, on the East Coast, it'll be early tomorrow morning. But tonight, for all intents and purposes, is the launch of Andor. And this is an exciting one because Mandalorian has been great, but Mandalorian has kind of been the lone great Star Wars show.
Right.
I mean, and don't get me wrong, there are people who really, really liked Obi-Wan. And for those people, awesome. I celebrate that you enjoyed that. Or really liked Book of Boba Fett. Awesome. I celebrate that you enjoyed that. While I was really excited about those ones, they did not live up to my hopes. Let's just say I was at least a little bit disappointed in those shows.
Me too.
But Andor, Andor represents something. I've seen now 6 episodes of Andor. And this is a show that to me, in my initial tweet I said about it, I said, this is the show that if you have at some point recently fallen out of love with Star Wars, this is the show. This one right here is the show that will make you fall in love with Star Wars again. It is a very different kind of show, not just from Obi-Wan and Book of Boba Fett, but it's also very, very different from Mandalorian. And it's the first Star Wars show that we've got on Disney Plus that is not shot in the volume. It's actually shot like a movie with actual practical sets and, out on location in different places. And, Rob, one of the first things I said about the show was, it is a show that feels like an HBO show. And right. I mean that as a compliment. It does not feel like a Disney Plus show. And there have been a number of Disney Plus shows I've really liked. But it doesn't feel like a Disney Plus show. It feels like an HBO. It feels like it's Succession in a Star Wars universe. It feels like something else along those lines of one of their heavier great dramas that's set in a Star Wars universe. It's character and it's intrigue and it's political and it's all this kind of stuff and there's tension and man, you know what it felt like to me? It felt like somebody who's really good at running a Star Wars role-playing game. It feels like somebody who sets up a really great drama, character-driven Star Wars role-playing game. And that's where it kind of felt like. And I know going into it, people have a lot of different expectations. I mean, Rogue One is one of the favorites for the fandom. And knowing this is a prequel to Rogue One, seeing the dirtier side of the rebellion. Rob, we're going into it tonight. You haven't had a chance to see any of it yet, but where have your expectations, what's been the evolution of your expectations going into tonight, leading right up to today?
Well, when I first grew up and saw Star Wars and Empire, I took Star Wars very, very seriously. And they took themselves seriously. And as it became the franchise that it is, with bed sheets and pajamas and Halloween costumes, I think it's hard to remember that even though it was a lot of fun, Star Wars and Empire are pretty serious movies. I mean, Jedi brought in the character designs were more fanciful and things like that you saw in things like Phantom Menace. But I think people have wanted, when you read a great Star Wars novel, whether it was the Thrawn trilogy or the Rogue Squadron books or any of those expanded universe books that took the lore seriously, they were serious stories. And I kind of got that with Rogue One. I'm like, this is the Star Wars that I've wanted to return to. So to hear that that's what they've done, like you've said it. I mean, and you're the big Star Wars guy. I mean, you competed at Star Wars Celebration. I mean, you're a Star Wars guru, and if you liked it and everything that you've said about it, that's what I wanted to hear.
Well, I mean, look, I think
that's what I want.
There's a lot of division in diversity of opinion within the world of Star Wars. Like some Star Wars fans love the prequels. Some Star Wars fans hate the prequels. Some Star Wars fans like the new Star Wars. Some don't like the new Star Wars, all that. But I really feel this is, when I came out of, like, say, The Last Jedi, it's a movie that there are things I hate about it, things I love about it. Overall, I enjoyed it. But, you come out of Last Jedi and you go, yeah, this is going to work for some people and it's not going to work for others. Or you watch something like Obi-Wan, you're like, yeah, this is going to work for some people, this isn't going to work for others. I watched Andor, and I feel pretty comfortable in saying that I think this is a show that's going to appeal to the broadest base of Star Wars fans that I think we've seen out of a new thing. I'm not necessarily saying it's the best Star Wars thing to come out, but I think this one is going to have a very broad appeal to the Star Wars fan base coming out of this. I will say it's a little slow, not like Lord of the Rings of Power slow,
sure,
but it starts a little slow as it's building up and setting up the context. And I'm telling you, I got into this show very, very, very quickly, and I think people are going to really enjoy it. The one group of Star Wars fans that I think might not enjoy it are the ones that are going into it with a what's the Clone Wars sort of mentality.
Right.
That they're going in to see lots and lots of pew pew and whatever. If you're going in thinking this is going to be a balls to the wall action thing, then you might be left a little bit wanting. But if you're going into this looking for a damn good Star Wars story, then I think you're going to be very, very happy. So what's been your sense amongst the fans that you've been hearing from about their expectations for Andor?
Well, I think people are really excited about it for that very reason. I mean, look, I'm not begrudging anyone who loves Obi-Wan or Boba Fett.
Oh, yeah, absolutely not.
But, to me, Mandalorian was somewhere between Clone Wars and the serious Star Wars that I've enjoyed. And I've liked it. I've liked it, but it's also kind of a throwback to an old Western show from like the 60s. The stranger comes in from the desert and all that, which is great, which is fine. And I've enjoyed Mandalorian, but if this makes any sense, it feels a little lightweight in terms of the stakes. I mean, if you think about a real rebellion that's being fought and people are really dying and whole civilizations are being snuffed out of existence with the Death Star. I mean, I wanted to see it is called Star Wars after all. Not Star Skirmishes or Star Conflict. And there's a connotation that goes along with that I've wanted to see them lean into. Now, obviously, that's not exactly family friendly. But I do think that what we're getting with this is for that more discerning, sophisticated audience. Hey, you've got all this other stuff you can look at. That's what Star Wars has become. All things for all people. If you want to watch an animated show like Rebels, which is a lot of fun and still very Star Wars, swashbuckling adventure, you've got it. But this is what I wanted to see, the dark, gritty, what does it mean to really start rebelling against the galactic empire?
Well, here's the thing, too. When you, as much as the Star Wars films are like my favorite films of all time, here's the thing. When you go back and you look at the original Star Wars movies, even once you get into the prequels and all that kind of stuff, one of the things you never see is the rebellion. What is it they're fighting for?
Right.
All we know is that Empire bad, we're fighting against the Empire. They never show what is it they are fighting for. In Andor, like the closest you get maybe is an Empire when, the Imperials show up on Bespin. They just show up. But in Andor, we see a galaxy oppressed.
Right.
We see what it is that stirs and stokes the fires of rebellion, of people wanting to stand up. This is the first time in Star Wars we've really gotten to see it. And for me, it really hit home. And I love seeing what I see. And I cannot wait for people to see it.
Yeah, well, that's exactly, it's music to my ears, John.
And listen, they're launching with 3 episodes. They absolutely needed to launch with 3 episodes. I have a feeling that if they just showed like the first half-hour episode, I think a lot of people might have come out. I think I might have come out of it feeling a little bit wanting. But by showing the first 3 together right off the bat, it allows the audience to really get into the show. And listen, no movie or show is for everyone. So I have no doubt there's going to be some of you tomorrow that are going, it wasn't that good. Absolutely. But I think the most of you are going to really have a good time with it. At least I hope so. Anyway, guys, that's just some of our thoughts going into the expectations of it being game day. And we are getting this thing tonight. Andor is here. And I think a lot of you guys are going to have a good time. All right. With that said, guys, We are now going to move on and do what we are really here to do with Open Mic, which is to take your thoughts, theories, opinions, questions, speculations about any topic you guys want to talk about here today. So we're going to go ahead and do that now. The super chats are open, but they will only be open for a couple more minutes, so get those on in there. Now, before we get into those, though, guys, we're going to take a second and thank one of the major sponsors of our channel here, my service provider, Mint Mobile. We want to take a second and thank the sponsor of this video, Mint Mobile. After years of fine print contracts and getting ripped off by big wireless providers, if we've learned anything, it's that there's always a catch. So when I first heard that Mint Mobile offers premium wireless starting at just $15 a month, I thought, what's the catch? But after talking to them and using their service, it all made sense. There isn't one. Mint Mobile's secret sauce is that they're the first company to sell wireless service online only. They cut out the cost of the retail stores and pass those sweet savings directly to you. And guys, I have been using Mint Mobile for months now, and I could not be more thrilled with the service. I also couldn't be more thrilled with the fact that my phone bill now is literally 1/3 of what it used to be with my previous major carrier. All plans come with unlimited talk and text, plus high-speed data delivered on the nation's largest 5G network. Use your own phone with any Mint Mobile plan and keep your same phone number along with your existing contacts. Switch to Mint Mobile and get premium wireless service starting at just $15 a month. To get your new wireless plan for just $15 a month and get the plan shipped to your door for free, go to mintmobile.com/Campea. That's mintmobile.com/Campea. Cut your wireless bill to $15 a month at mintmobile.com/Campea. And thank you to our friends at Mint Mobile for being a sponsor of our YouTube channel. Guys, I got to tell you, I literally really am spending 1/3 what I was spending on my other carrier. The service has been great. The transfer couldn't have been easier. Make sure you guys do yourselves a favor and go check out mintmobile.com/Campea. All right, Rob, let's do what we're here to do. Which
All
is take
right.
people's questions. What do we got?
Ready to go here. We've got TJ Slabdragon Watson. I watch you so much, I don't have time for movies.
That is, of course, the big problem. I mean, we're streaming like 4 hours of content a day.
Hey, that leaves 20 hours left.
Yeah, what are you doing?
Slackers.
What are you doing? Who
No
needs
time.
a job?
Look at that graphic. No time.
All right,
Sucked into a black hole.
What's next?
Daniel Vakura says, I mentioned it. Hockeyland. I mentioned it. Hockeyland drops on Amazon Prime on 10/16 about 2 Minnesota high school teams. Minnesota is the state of hockey. One of the teams makes the state title game. Canada is better. Minnesota has the second best player.
I'll tell you what, when I was growing up, obviously Toronto Maple Leafs are my team, and I'll obviously prefer all the Canadian teams. But I think one of my favorite teams that was not a Canadian team growing up was the Minnesota North Stars. Now, I know today they're known as the Minnesota Wild. That's not my Minnesota hockey team. My Minnesota hockey team was the Minnesota North Stars. And they had an Italian sniper by the name of Dino Ciccarelli, who was an electrifying player. I used to love watching those guys play. And of course, they've had a lot of success as the Wild too. So it's great to see hockey roots in Minnesota still strong. And I'll have to check out that doc. Thanks for bringing it on our radar.
Dino Ciccarelli sounds like somebody who was in Greece.
It really does, doesn't it? But that was his name, Dino Ciccarelli.
What a great name.
All right, what's next?
Mikel Mahi says, in France, we don't have The Last Thor and Strange on Disney+, but in cinema, maybe they do the same for Black Panther 2.
Yeah, so we were mentioning on the show earlier today that they did take another one of the films earlier this year, and I can't remember which one it was, and they bypassed the theater. They put it directly on Disney+. But they have done the theatrical thing with a couple of their films and just ate it with the 17-month
Right.
Wait period they had to do. Maybe that is what they do with Black Panther 2. I certainly think the wise thing here to do, Rob, is to put Black Panther 2 in theaters and make that money. But I don't know. What do you think?
We are simpatico. Yeah. I mean, we've said on the show, look, whether they make, somebody wrote in and said that it made a little over $30 million, the first Black Panther, that's still $30 million. You know, that ain't chump change. And if that's what they're going to make, I think Wakanda Forever is going to outgross that in France, maybe do 40 million. You don't want to leave that on the table.
No, because you're going to get it. People are going to watch it on Disney Plus when you put it out.
Yes.
So, yeah, I agree.
They are.
All right, what's next?
Daniel Vakura goes on to say, having seen Barbarian, it's the most overrated film of the year. What?
Wow.
The first 40 minutes are really good. Then it tanks with an anticlimactic ending. It's only 1 hour and 20 minutes without credits. It's just not good. Taylor, you disagree with that?
Yeah, that movie's so much fun. Amy loved it. I took Amy to go see it at the AMC Burbank 16, and she had so much fun with it.
Well, I mean, that's the thing about movies. I mean, like they hit you in different ways. By the way, the hour and 20-minute thing, that doesn't matter. The movie could be an hour long. If it's a good movie, it's a good movie. If it's not a good movie, making it longer wouldn't make it any better. So I don't mind that. But I've been hearing a lot of really good things about it.
Yeah,
So
it's a ferocious little movie.
I'm excited about checking it out. All right, what's next?
Dakota Kolar says, thanks guys for making me laugh today. I finished watching the live show like 20 minutes ago and I love the opening.
Oh, that was fun. I've been meaning to bring in my new Mandalorian helmet just to put it on the desk. And last minute we just kind of decided to pop them on, get some lower thirds. Thanks to Ray for being able to be so quick and nimble and get those lower thirds. Like literally in a minute. He got these lower thirds made. Like, it's like, okay, we're like 45 seconds from going to air. Yeah, I got it. And he's making these lower thirds. It's like, I'm glad. Thanks for being there, and I'm glad you enjoyed it.
It was fun, although those helmets can be claustrophobic.
They can. And when you're trying to speak loud enough, the sound reverberates in it. And I was blowing out my own ears trying to talk loud enough for Mike to hear me.
Me too, because you don't know how loud you have to talk.
Uncomfortable.
Dakota Kolar goes on to say, hey guys, I just wanted to ask you all, I have not. Have I seen BJ or have you seen BJ Novak's film Vengeance? I laughed pretty hard and it's pretty witty and it's now on Peacock.
All right. Now that I know it's on Peacock, I know what I'm doing tonight.
Yeah.
Because no, I have not seen it. I really like BJ Novak and I've heard literally nothing but good things about this movie. And I never just got a chance to get around. Well, it was playing somewhere around me for like a minute and then it wasn't. So you didn't have a chance to see this one either?
No, and I really want to see it. I love the trailer. So and
the trailers are great.
And BJ Novak did that like 6-part miniseries that he produced. And I really like that. So I definitely want to see it.
And a lot of people don't talk about the fact that he was one of the writers on The Office as well. And I'm looking forward to seeing it. All right, what's next?
Ismael Montoya. Ismael, hey guys, I'm a little hesitant with anything Star Wars, but it seems this might be the show that fixes the problem. Your thoughts, John?
I'm not going to say it fixes a problem, okay? Because there are a lot of people who enjoyed Obi-Wan. I was disappointed in it. I didn't hate it, but I was disappointed in it. A lot of people like the Book of Boba Fett. I was disappointed with it, but a lot of people liked it. It's a very different kind of Star Wars approach. And now, here's what I think fans need to resist the temptation of doing, which is going,
good luck.
Oh, this is great. No, right? Yeah, we fans, we never go too far.
We always resist temptation.
Yes. So when you look at something like Andor, and once you guys watch it tonight, and I think because it's great, there's going to be a temptation in Star Wars fans to go, well, that's what they should just do from now on. Everything should be dirty and gritty and super grounded and all that kind of stuff. But that reminds me of like when Deadpool came out, right? When Deadpool came out, people looked at it and they went, that's what comic book movies should now be. Raunchy and R-rated and blah, blah, blah. It's like, okay, but it's like, no, winning cures everything. It worked in this case, but the formula is not what makes movies and shows good. You can do something more lighthearted with a certain approach to it, like some of the other Star Wars stuff, and make it awesome. You can try to do things darker and grittier and more grounded, and it'd be total failure. We got to resist the urge as fans to go, oh, look at the formula they use. That's what Star Wars should do from now on. And I just think we need to resist that. But I do think you're really going to enjoy this. I really,
can't wait.
do. And let me mention one other thing that I love about this series that is very different from a lot of not just other Star Wars Disney Plus shows, but Disney Plus shows in general. What the pattern of the Disney Plus shows have been, and it has worked in some situations and not in others, is that whoever the title character is of the show is just always on them, right? Like the show Ms. Marvel. I love Ms. Marvel. It's masterful. I love that show. But it's always on her. It's always on Kamala, right? Moon Knight, it's always on him. You don't get what you get in like Game of Thrones or things like that, where you have multiple ensemble casts and characters with side dramas going on and all these types of things you get in Succession or Game of Thrones and things like that, right? Andor is more like that. It's definitely an Andor show, but it has other characters that have their own stories and dramas going on, and it takes time to follow those as well because it gives greater texture to the overall story. I just love this show.
I can't wait.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what I wanted. That's what I've looked for.
All right, what's next?
For so long. Hoopsuni says, thoughts on Cronenberg's Videodrome? Well,
We were just talking about that like 2 weeks ago, weren't we?
yeah, I mean, look, I love Videodrome. It's funny to go back and watch that film now because with cable access TV, like Civic TV, the company that Max Wren works for, and inserting beta tapes into your chest and all of those hallucinations. I loved it when it came out. It was really groundbreaking back in, 83? And there's lots of crazy violence, and Rick Baker did the same effects guy who did American Werewolf. I wonder... I mean, when I watch it, I was there when it came out, but I would love to show that movie for the first time to somebody today and wonder
See how it holds up.
Yeah, do you know what they're doing? Like pirate television, you're pirating a TV signal because it's like back, when you're turning on cable trying to watch NC-17 movies late at night or something. All that, the modern generation doesn't know what the hell that is. But at the time, it was great.
All right, what's next?
Dakota Kolar says, Rob, my grandmother is from France, and when she finds people here who speak French, she melts. Haha, it's hilarious how it animated her. Well, I'll tell you, you don't want to get in you don't want to get in the way of the French ladies because when they find other French speakers, it's off to the races, and you might as well just sit there and go, yeah. And then 20 minutes later, they're like, oh, you don't speak French, and then they'll switch back to English.
I remember I had to take, being Canadian, I had to take like 6 years of French. And one weekend, my buddy and I were just like, what do you want to do? Want to go to Quebec? And like, I'd never been to Quebec yet. And we're like, yeah, why not? And we literally got in the car, drove 5 or 6 hours. We went to Montreal, went to Quebec City, went all that kind of stuff. And when you immerse yourself in a culture, I learned more French in 3 days.
Yeah.
Than I did in the 6 years I did taking it in school. It was kind of weird that way. All right, what's next?
Tim Platt says, if AMC needs money, they should license that Nicole Kidman commercial to sports teams. I mean, heartbreak must feel good in a place like this if I keep going back to watch the Commanders.
Yeah, or the Cowboys. Good old Cowboys.
Please score.
Somehow. Oh, you didn't again? That's okay. That actually, I like that a lot. Somebody got to make a meme of the Dallas Cowboys for me with Nicole Kidman saying somehow heartbreak feels good in a place like this in Jerry World. I would love to see that. All right, what's next?
Brick Studman.
I love the name.
Brick Studman. I bet Marvel has proprietary software now on how to maintain canon and characters in a franchise. Give that tech to Lucasfilm, please, and thank you.
It's debatable how well Marvel's doing that right now. It is debatable. Listen, I knew, first of all, I thought going into CinemaCon, I had really believed for about a full year that the upcoming Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness was going to be the movie where they wrap up, when they shut down multiverse, right? Remember that? I said,
yeah, I remember.
I thought Wanda was going to create this multiversal crisis, which I was right about. And that Wanda, I thought for years that Wanda was going to be the villain, and we were right about that. But I really thought that the climax of this was that Doctor Strange was going to shut down the multiverse. And then we were at CinemaCon long before Doctor Strange 2 came out. And Kevin Feige comes out on stage and talks about how Phase 4 is about multiverse. I'm like, well, there goes that theory. That theory's... And a little bit of my heart sank when I heard that, because if you know me, I am not really big on either time travel or multiverse.
Right.
And not to say there's not great time travel stuff, Back to the Future, Star Trek 4. There's definitely great examples of great time travel stuff. And there's some great examples of great multiverse stuff as well. But ultimately, to me, time travel and multiverse is the lazy man's writing tool, because there's no consequences for anything. And I heard one writer say this: limitation is the, what is it? Limitation is the spark fire of creativity. Like, when you have a hero down in a pit filled with alligators, you can't just write, "Oh, hero flies out." Well, no, that's not what people do. And so it's forced you to be creative. When you have like multiverse and time travel, like I've said this before, I'll say it again. There's never been a movie created that has a problem, any movie ever created that has a problem that cannot be solved by time travel. And with multiverse, that is the ultimate no consequences thing. Like, if Doctor Strange died, no problem. We'll go get another Doctor Strange. It's okay. It's all good. Gamora died, no problem. We'll go get another Gamora. And I knew when we were in CinemaCon and he starts talking, this is going to be the multiversal stage, there was a little part of me that was like, And now, multiverse so far in Phase 4 hasn't actually played that big of a role.
No, that we know of.
That we know of, notwithstanding your theory earlier. But I mean, obviously, Spider-Man No Way Home, Loki, Doctor Strange. But a lot of stuff hasn't been touched by it at all. Moon Knight, Ms. Marvel, WandaVision itself, Black Widow, Shang-Chi, so it'll be interesting to see how much they build towards that as we get ultimately to Secret Wars.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see.
All right.
But I'm with you. I think there can be great time travel stories and lazy time travel stories. It's hard to do. And I found that, the best time travel stories are more contained. Like Back to the Future is a great example. It wasn't necessarily a time travel story, but it became one because the time machine out of necessity was used to escape. And then, of course, he has to deal with his own existence. But it wasn't about the existence of the world or the universe. Right. It was just about him. Can he save himself?
All right. What's next?
What is next is Magnum. Says over or under.
Man, we go from Brick Studman to Magnum.
I know. Right. What kind of show is this?
By the way, see their icon? The Avatar, it's actually Magnum PI. I love that.
Magnum says over under 60%. Avatar passes 3 billion with its re-release. It's about 153 million away. I think it will do very well with the international re-release. I mean, John, it'll be interesting to see. I don't know how well it's going to do this weekend.
I think it will do very well for a re-release.
Right.
But very well for a re-release, and it isn't that Avatar.
Oops.
But this Avatar will cross $3 billion with a re-release.
The Shamhammer will be vindicated.
I don't think it'll do 153 million re-release. I think it'll do very good for a re-release, but very good would be in the $50 million range. So I'm going to say under 60%, not zero. I'm not saying zero, but right. I'm going to say pretty limited. What do you think?
It would depend if it's global. Like, I don't know how big the re-release is. Is it just domestic? And I know it's not on all platforms. I mean, that's really going to depend on, it depends how many theaters it's in.
Yeah.
I don't think domestically it's going to move the needle much.
I don't even know if it's about as many theaters as it's in. Are there going to be enough people to fill whatever theaters there are?
Because there's not a lot of marketing about it coming out this weekend.
No, I mean, they're going pretty heavy on YouTube. There's some good marketing on YouTube. I know I'm going to go see it again, but I got to go under 60. What about you?
Yeah, I'm going to go under 60 too.
I mean,
under.
It'll be impressive if it does, because we would have our first film ever that would be $3 billion. Would be insane, especially when you consider that it is, prior to Avatar 2, it is a standalone, single, non-franchise movie. Now, I hear the Endgame supporters. I'm a big Marvel guy, but I hear the Endgame supporters often cry about the fact that Avatar is the number one box office film all the time. And they would be quick to say, well, that's only because it got a re-release. And yeah, but if you want to start playing that game,
well, yeah,
then there are other things you start throwing around. It's like, okay, but Avatar was a standalone movie. Endgame was what, part 22 of the culmination of a 22-part movie buildup with 17 A-list movie stars and this and this and this and this. And so if you want to start playing that game, you can play that game. But the bottom line is it is. And it would be really interesting to see if it can cross that billion. That being said, I've said this for a long time. I've said it for years. I will continue to say it. I believe Endgame and Avatar are going to be playing a game of leapfrog for years.
Yeah.
Because Avatar might cross 3 billion, whatever. But before Avengers Secret Wars comes out, I believe Disney will re-release Endgame. And then it will leapfrog Avatar. And then before Avatar 3 comes out, they'll do a double re-release of Avatar and Avatar 2, and it will leapfrog over Endgame again. So these two films are going to be leapfrogging each other for
I
a while.
agree. 100%.
All right, what's next?
Hoopsuni says, because of Rob mentioning it so often on the show, I ordered the Criterion Blu-ray of All That Jazz.
Nice.
And I loved it. Thanks, Rob. Well, you know what I love hearing? That's one of my favorite movies of all time. David Fincher said it's his favorite movie of all time, too. I saw it when it first came out, and it really affected me. So glad to hear it.
Very cool. All right, what's next?
CJ Haight says, any great movies about shapeshifters you would recommend other than The Thing? I'm writing a book involving a species of shapeshifters and would love some inspiration.
It was the Invasion of the Body Snatchers, but that's not really a shapeshifter.
But it's got elements of that.
Yeah.
And then Species.
Species was a good one.
You know, it's not. I don't know if it's such a shapeshifter because
Yeah, it's not. See, most shapeshifter stuff really to me is in television. You're looking at things like Supernatural or like there's actually a race of shapeshifters in Supernatural.
but also, I mean, there are movies where like aliens, like I love The Hidden, Jack Shoulder's The Hidden, where you have these aliens that crawl inside human beings and take them over. But they're not shapeshifting. They're just riding humans.
Then you've got They Live, but again, that's not really shape-shifting.
Right.
That's more of a disguise.
I've got one.
What's that?
There we go.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah,
Just go ahead and watch the original X-Men movies with Mystique.
Which is good. I mean, there's good shapeshifting like that.
Very good.
But it's interesting. That's a great question, John, because how do you define shapeshifters?
Oh, well, an invasion is about to give us some
definitely.
shapeshifters. So
Yes, they are.
All right, what's next?
All right, so this one came out of order, so we'll start here and then go down.
The Man with the Master Plan. Do you want me to go down?
We'll start with the top
one.
and then go
Okay.
down.
Man with the Master Plan says, "Hey, yo, please explain demineralization for singing a song."
It probably means
demonetization.
Yeah.
Thought that concept would apply to spreading misinformation. Fuck.
And I mean demonetization, obviously. So basically, it says YouTube has, because of their constant battles and lawsuits with the
Copyright owners.
It's not the MPA, that's movies. Is it the recording RCA or RAA?
Recording industry of like RIAA.
Yeah, something like that. So the recording industry has, especially in the formative years on YouTube, really waged legal war against YouTube for people using copywritten music on their videos. And so what YouTube has in place is a really sensitive set of algorithms that just automatically detect if you're using a piece of music that is copywritten and copy protected music. If people who are game streamers have been wrestling with this for a long time, because you cannot play music you listen to on the radio on your stream, because that is you rebroadcasting music that you don't have the rights to rebroadcast. And there have been instances when somebody on a YouTube video has just started singing a tune, but the algorithm recognizes it and demonetizes your video.
It means you can't put ads on it. It can't generate revenue at all.
Or goes one step further and blocks your video. Or goes one step further, even this. There's several stages. The worst thing is you get an actual strike, because you get 3 strikes.
Your channel's gone.
Your channel's gone. Your entire channel is gone.
And sometimes the people that own the copyright they'll let your video stay up, but they will monetize your video.
Yeah, they get to collect all the monetization on that. Happens sometimes in the movie world, where I've done a movie review and brought up a poster talking about the movie review, and then 3 years later, I'll get a notification from YouTube saying, Columbia Pictures has claimed copyright on your video for copyright content infringement. And then I have to go through the legalese and fight it, claiming doctrine of fair use and whatever, and then I get that back. But yeah, I mean, there was one time when I was at AMC, we actually got, this is the only time it's ever happened to me, we actually got the ultimate one. We got a strike. And once you have a content strike, a copyright strike, your channel may still exist, but all of a sudden, a lot of the things most YouTubers can do, you can't do, include live stream.
For 90 days.
So here's what happened with us. Remember Machete Kills?
Right.
The damn studio behind Machete Kills contacted us and said, would you please play our new trailer, Machete Kills? It'll be an exclusive to your show. Can you please play the trailer on your show? Because we're starting to build up our, there it is. We're starting to build, that's a totally different, that's more like what's the Asylum's version of Machete.
Right.
But we're starting to build up momentum and marketing for Machete. Would you please play this? And we're like, we'll do that. We'll play that. So on that show, we did it. 5 minutes after the show was done, our video was taken down, and we had got given a content strike, a copyright strike on our channel, which meant we couldn't live stream, we couldn't monetize, we couldn't do anything.
You're done.
All because it's like, wait a minute, time out. That studio asked us to play this, and they had forgotten to whitelist us. And it was weeks. It was weeks of struggle to try to get, it was so frustrating. Dealing with YouTube sometimes can be a real pain in the ass. Now, fortunately, I've got some really good YouTube reps that are a dream to work with, but sometimes some of that automated stuff, including, I think we're alone now. Oh, content strike. Like you got to be very, very careful with that. They're very, very sensitive about music. Great question, though. All right, what's next?
James LH says, John, 1 or 2, not expecting you to remember, but in 2019, I wrote in from the hospital after a heart attack. I never mentioned I missed my screening of Jaws. Well, Jaws was just re-released. Again, I missed it because for 2 weeks I was sick with COVID. If Jaws is ever on cinema again, I'm going into isolation. James, I don't mean to laugh. I feel terrible. You haven't seen Jaws on the big screen.
You know what? And because of a bunch of different things that were going on, I missed it. When it was re-released on the big screen, I did not have a chance to get back out and see it. I have, in my life, I've never actually seen Jaws on the big screen. I've seen it many, many times in my life. I've just never had a chance to see it in a movie theater, which really sucks. I'd love to see that in a movie theater.
In 3D, the 3D conversion, spectacular.
I'm sure it'd be great. All right, what's next?
Daniel Vakura says, See How They Run is very good. I liked it much more than Knives Out as a whodunit with the setup. It was easily the best film I saw over the weekend. That was that other, we talked about the trailer for it months ago on the show.
Which one was See How They Run?
It's like the British version of Knives Out. It's got, Saoirse Ronan, Sam Rockwell.
Oh my God, wait a minute. I love this trailer. Did that actually come out?
Yes, last weekend.
I saw this movie over the weekend and it was hilarious. I was busting
I had
up.
no idea. Was it in limited release?
I don't know, but my theater was packed and everyone was like laughing hysterically from start to finish. I did not expect it to be that funny.
That trailer was awesome.
It was awesome.
I love that trailer. I got to check to see if it's still playing in a theater.
It's probably still playing because until Thursday.
Man, they did a bad job marketing this thing because some trailers came out months ago and I had no idea it was coming.
The John Hamm Fletch movie came out. No one knew that.
Yeah, that came and went. Like nobody paid attention to that. I just don't understand all these movies coming out. You put all this artistic effort, resources, production time, and then you do not market it properly. And that, by the way, is why one of the big reasons that Netflix and the movie theaters are having a big problem right now. Like Netflix is very interested in putting some of their original movies in theaters, and theaters are very interested in having some of Netflix movies in their theaters. But they're having two big obstacles. One that we all know, it's the theatrical window. But the other bigger one is that the movie theaters are insisting that Netflix actually commits a certain dollar amount to market the films. Because the theaters are like, what point is it for us to put these movies in our theaters if you're not going to market it and let people know it's in theaters?
No one knows they're there. So no one's going to go.
Hence you get See How They Run, you get Fletch, you get
an empty movie theater like
and
this.
then you get big empty theaters like Nicole Kidman's the only one there watching. I mean, it's just crazy.
So funny.
All right, what's next?
Matthew Medina says, does it look and feel like Denis Villeneuve directed a left revolution in Latin America? That's the vibe I'm getting. Viva la revolucion. Love Diego.
I have no idea what we're talking about.
I don't either. I don't either. Dune?
No, Diego?
I mean,
well, sorry about that, man. All right, what's next?
Not sure. Is that something going on in the real world? Tim Platt says, speaking of which, who do you think wins it all first? Your Maple Leafs or my Commanders?
Maple Leafs. I legitimately feel like Maple Leafs have a very legitimate shot this year. Now, listen, if you're a Washington football fan, the one piece of really good news you have is that you have a very good coach. And listen, that place is so dysfunctional. It's going to take that coach years to really build the right culture there, but you've got the right guy. You really do. If you're a Washington football fan, you've got the right guy. It's just probably going to take time. All right, what's next?
Victor Edbaum says, did you guys read about the big leak for the next Grand Theft Auto game? Yes, I did. The hacker tried to blackmail Rockstar Games for money. Has this ever happened for an upcoming movie or TV show? So what happened was, a hacker found like a backdoor with an employee from Rockstar Games and found gameplay examples like deep in their servers that had female playable, main playable characters and all kinds of interesting stuff, and then did try and blackmail Rockstar Games. Now, I don't know what has come of that, but
They released it. They released everything. Yeah.
And it's just, you know what I mean, I understand that the idea of hacking there's an anarchist vibe to it all, but everyone loves Grand Theft Auto, and I mean, I can understand a hacker gets some street cred by doing something like this, but there's a lot of people that are employed by Rockstar Games. There's a lot of people working on these games, and I mean, you're messing with people's livelihoods when you do this, and then you're going to bribe a company. I mean, it's straight up criminal behavior.
Yeah, well, I mean, straight up is, but I mean, people have been doing it from the days of
I know
train robbing.
I mean, ever since the Whopper computer and Matthew Broderick broke into it in War Games. And
do you want to play
that was
game?
39 years ago. But you know, they did, like, there was the great big Sony hack.
Yeah.
Where the hackers took all those emails and released them. I mean, I don't know if anyone's actually, some people have stolen like scenes from movies and things like that. But nowadays you've got these ransomware attacks where people can you imagine having your computer broken into and they freeze if you're cutting on an Avid or cutting.
I mean, we've had movie piracy. We've had entire copies of Game of Thrones wrestled with that for a long time. I mean, Game of Thrones entire episodes would be released online days before the new episodes would come out. I mean, it's not unusual.
No.
All right, what's next?
It's unfortunate. Tremaine Field says, since D23, I've seen a resurgence of backlash of the Ariel casting. Will this affect the success of the film, or are these idiots the minority?
Well, I mean, it was since D23 because the actual trailer came out.
Right.
And again, yes, the very vocal, basement dwelling, mom living, cousin humping, knuckle dragging, fucking losers are going to whine and bitch and complain and cry because a mythical creature that doesn't actually exist has a certain tone to the pigmentation of their skin that isn't similar to theirs. Oh, boo fucking who, you fucking pathetic losers. Get the fuck over yourselves. It's unbelievable. And here's part of the problem. Part of the problem is that, I'm going to save that for another time. Others say that, yeah, there was because it came out but you know what? It's the same people trying to say like, oh, Captain Marvel is going to bomb. And if Captain Marvel made $1 billion and who cares? If the movie's going to be good and it'll have nothing to do with the color of this girl's skin, or the movie's going to be horrible and it'll have nothing to do with the color of this girl's skin. So people need just to grow the fuck up.
Well, I mean, Ursula the Sea Witch is, of course, blue. And
yes.
my whole thing is that she knows Sebastian, and Sebastian the crab is clearly from the Caribbean. So who's to say she's not a North Atlantic mermaid and she just hangs out more in the warmer climes?
Yeah.
And it makes sense why she looks the way she looks. So there you go. There's your canonical reason why Ariel looks the way she does in this movie. She's more of a Caribbean girl. That's why she knows Sebastian the Caribbean crab.
All right, what's next?
Jay Master says, and if they change the color of Ursula, then we would have open war if she wasn't blue. I'm telling you. Jay Master says, I was thinking back to the Mint Mobile caller who was asking what series could be the Disney Plus version of Game of Thrones.
I've had a lot of people emailing me about that call.
Yeah.
It's been really fun.
Could Percy Jackson and Aragon could that be the Disney Plus Game of Thrones, or Willow coming in November to Disney Plus?
I don't think so. I mean, I think to truly be that next Game of Thrones or whatever, it has to be something that primarily I think appeals to adults. And Don't get me wrong, I'm a fan of Percy Jackson. I never read the books, but I like the Percy Jackson movies. I'm looking forward to seeing this new thing. But can that be the next Game of Thrones? No. It can be great. I'm looking forward to it, but it's not the next Game of Thrones. I don't know what you think.
I don't think Disney Plus is capable of having a quote unquote Game of Thrones type show because it's of how adult oriented the material is. But in terms of a sprawling epic that is that engrossing because of the story that it's telling on many different levels, I think Disney Plus could. It just depends what they're going to do. I mean, any story could be that. If it doesn't necessarily have to have, familial incest to be a Game of Thrones type show. You don't have to have Daemon going after his niece. I mean, it's all about the sprawling epic story.
All right, what's next?
MK Matt says, what is the reason why Disney Plus, Prime, etc. release content in the middle of the night? Why not release it during prime time like HBO? I feel as though it limits the extent of the potential hype or discourse.
I have two theories about that. Number one, you got to remember, what is prime time?
And where are you?
Exactly. Because 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time is 4 a.m. somewhere else, right? So, I mean...
Or 8 a.m. in the UK.
Or 8 a.m. in the UK. So there's that. This one way to look at it is this, is that they say they're releasing it on, Thursday the 25th. Okay. Well, Disney wants to give it to you as early, or at Prime or whatever, wants to give it to you as early as they can. So 12 a.m. and 1 second, they're giving it to you as early as can possibly be by releasing it on that day. So you can look at it that way. The other way of looking at it is also this, is that you remember when Mandalorian and WandaVision were coming out, when the episodes would drop, what would happen when you try to load up Disney Plus to watch it?
Oh, you couldn't.
Errors.
It was so annoying.
Yep. And you'd be sitting there. I remember, especially for WandaVision, I'd be sitting there as like trying it for 20 minutes, 25 minutes before I could finally get in. Part of their strategy could be by releasing it at midnight, 3 a.m., things like that. There are some hardcores who will watch it, and then now they've watched it. And by the time the next day comes around, now there's not a huge glut.
Yeah.
And it might be to ease it up on the servers. I mean, I don't know that any of that is true. These are just my theories. What do you got for as far
Well, I
as
think
those
that's
theories?
a pretty good bet. And, look, they just, I think that it probably has something to do with subscribers versus when shows drop. I mean, if on the Pacific Coast, because there's not a lot in the time zones after Pacific time, you get into the ocean, and what is Hawaii behind us, like 5 hours or something, or 3 hours. So I think it really has to do with it starts on this day and probably the 24-hour cycle. I mean, I don't know exactly, but I'm sure it has to do with views versus subscribers. It's some monetary algorithm that they're dealing with. And that's what I would think.
Yeah, I think you're probably right. All right, what's next?
I don't know quite what that is. Reggie Wayne says, "Hi, John and Rob. Do you think Apple would be an interested buyer for Warner Brothers?" Thanks.
I think Apple would probably be interested. I mean, listen, Apple has the money to buy and sell Warner Brothers 6 times over. They are building something very, very good with Apple TV Plus. I'll tell you what, I was one of the people that laughed at them. Remember a couple of years ago, they did that big presentation day where here are the shows we have coming to Disney Plus, and it's like some of them look kind of interesting, but it was a very underwhelming thing. I thought, this is going to be come and go like a fart in the wind. But they have made some really good content.
Oh yeah, look, I wouldn't mind if if Universal buys Warner Brothers, they're gonna combine into one studio. But if Apple bought Warner Brothers, it would be Warner. They would keep the name Warner Brothers, an Apple company.
Yeah,
they would. I'm sure Apple would be like, here you go. And what would they get? They would get HBO.
Yeah,
I think that's a good buy. If David Zaslav is really looking for a suitor, I mean, obviously then Apple would have to get, here's my problem, John. What I want is a dedicated motion picture studio that is run by people that are interested in making movies and television content. If a studio is owned by a parent company and it's just a subsidiary, then it becomes part of the corporate machinations of the whole company. But if it's unto itself, Apple can take care of itself. It'll want a content company. It'll want a company that has a streaming service, that wants to make movies, that wants to make content, and A-list content like what Apple's doing already. And hopefully that's what they would keep doing. By the way, I don't think there's no whispering that Apple's in the market for Warner Brothers.
And here's the reality too. Comcast is a very cash-rich company.
Yes.
And while Apple has more money than Comcast is going to be willing to spend more on, say, acquiring Warner Brothers than Apple would be willing to spend. So I think that's why we don't really seriously talk about Apple. I mean, I think absolutely. I think every studio would be interested in acquiring Warner Brothers and all that IP. But the reality is I think Comcast is going to be the company that, number one, has the most to gain, and number two, would be willing to spend the most. And that's why I think they're the only real serious players.
And the thing about Comcast that people forget is that it's Comcast that has the infrastructure that actually has the pipelines that give us our streaming goodness. Like they've built the streaming infrastructure. We have to go through Comcast's literally their wires to get or into our homes.
And by the way, to put it in context, when we were talking about Comcast, we were talking about NBC Universal. Comcast owns Universal Studios, NBC, Peacock, all that. That's who we're talking about.
And
here.
all the cable, all the lines, they actually are going into your house. So it's a different vibe.
All right, what's next?
Let's see. Videco Riffs, like on my shirt. Hey, John and Rob, I just wanted to thank you so much for all the years of great content. Been with you ever since the AMC days. Tanti salute from Germany.
Oh, thank you so much, man. I always appreciate hearing that.
Always
a lot
good.
of people write in and say they've been following me since the AMC days. Or, I mean, again, the true OGs are like from the movie blog days.
Right.
Not a lot of those. That's going back a long ways. But thank you so much, man. Thanks for coming along with the ride with us. All right.
All the way from Germany. Hoopsuni says, I love spending money on your show while making money at work. Thanks for the multiple shows a day to accompany me through my workday.
Well, thank you so much for letting us come along with you for the ride. I mean, yeah, listen, we put out 3 to 4 plus hours of content every day.
Yes, we do.
We know, like, I know as somebody who loves my ESPN and things, and going back to the old G4 days, I love being able to know that I had something that I like that I could turn on at any time, and I knew I could watch some new content and all that kind of stuff for hours a day if I want to, whether that was on something like G4 or ESPN. And that's kind of what we wanted our channel to be as well, that our viewers know that, hey, listen, every single day, if you're just looking for something to watch, you want to talk about the things that you love, we've got hours of brand new content every day. And thanks for letting us, helping us do that.
Are you saying that you want to do a 24-hour live John Campea network that has live programming all the time?
I am not going to say that hasn't been a part of the conversation.
I think that actually be pretty great.
Oh, no, listen, I have had thoughts and discussions and talks and plans about, what would it take? Because look, I'm going to pull back the curtain, let you guys look in on a little bit here. So, okay. When you watch ESPN, ultimately, really, what are you watching? You're watching 8 different shows that are all talking about the same topics that day. On Monday morning, when you turn on First Take, or you're watching Pardon the Interruption, or you're watching Around the Horn, or you're watching all these ESPN shows, they're all talking about the same NFL games from the day before and all the same sports stories. They're just each with different personalities, and they're each with slightly different formats, but you can turn on ESPN anytime during the day and get one of those shows, right? I'm not going to lie. I have thought before about the idea of maybe not 24 hours, but the idea of having like a morning show, which is the John Campea Show, which is about to be renamed soon, and then a afternoon show, which right now is either like open mic or whatever, and then an early evening show, which would be, I don't know, like for argument's sake, let's say Christian came over and started working those full time. I'm just used, don't nobody get excited. I'm just saying full time. Like the afternoon would be, I don't know, like Harloff in the afternoons, and then whatever. And like maybe have, instead of 4 hours of live streaming content every day, we had like 8 to 12 hours of live streaming content every day. So that would be phenomenally expensive.
Right. Yeah.
Phenomenally expensive. Because not only do we need more hosts, we need new graphics people, we need new project managers, we need new producers, we need new technical directors. We're talking about ridiculous amounts of money it would cost to do it. But I would love to get it to that point where it'd be like and then basically we would have a live stream where it's like that 8 to 12 hours. You just turn on any time, that's 8 to 12 hours live. Or in the wee hours of the morning, it's then a loop of those 8 to 12 hours until the next day's shows.
Yeah.
I would love to do it. It's just, it would take an awful lot of money that I don't currently have.
And a lot of people.
And a lot of people take a lot, which of course people cost money.
It'd be fun though.
It would be a lot of fun.
It'd be fun.
We'd have to set up cots in here. Taylor would never be able to go home.
It'd be a 24-hour facility.
Yep.
I did want to have that sleepover here, so that would be the perfect time to do it.
There you go. We got the room.
Which, by the way, when we do that, it's monetized and we are on live video the entire time.
Ghost hunting.
All right, what's next?
Ghost hunting. Danny Sanchez says, I've lost all excitement for the future of the MCU, but I'll watch.
I mean, listen, it's like any relationship. Any relationship. It ebbs and flows. You'll have like hot moments and cool moments and whatever. Then listen, you're in a relationship, you're dating a girl, and like you've been fighting for 3 weeks. You're going to feel a little cool on the relationship. But guess what? Then she buys you a great birthday gift and you guys go out for a fantastic dinner. And all of a sudden, you're super excited about the relationship again. The MCU Phase 4, with a few awesome exceptions like Shang-Chi, WandaVision, Ms. Marvel, like that, has been the weakest of the four phases so far. So yeah, it's kind of natural right now that people would feel a little cooler on the MCU, but winning cures everything. Black Panther comes out. Now, let's just say, for argument's sake, Black Panther comes out and it blows the doors off and everybody loves it. Guess what? Everybody's super excited about the MCU again.
Oh, yeah.
And so we'll see. We'll see. All right, what's next?
Timula, the spider monkey. Hello, Tim. Just got my notification that my Boris Karloff mummy statue from Iron Studios is shipping today. By the way, it's beautiful. Can't wait for him to arrive. And the Dracula and Wolfman I have on pre-order as well.
Have you seen these pieces?
Oh, yeah, they're gorgeous.
It's so nice.
Look at that.
Oh, my God.
And the face, I mean, that looks just like the Boris Karloff mummy.
Does it come with that background, too?
Yeah.
Oh, how much is that? I'm scared to ask.
It's I think 4 figures.
No.
Yeah.
How big is it?
I think it's quarter scale. I'm not sure.
And
What
you
is
think
it,
It gets
Taylor?
into the $1,000 range?
I think so.
That's a lot of cash, man.
Man, if you get into, Elizabeth said to me once, she goes, you better dare not get into statues. I go, no. Because the studios, like there's a Godzilla versus Kong diorama statue that's $5,000.
Which is fine if you want to sell like 10 hot toys to start collecting them. If you want to start exchanging them.
There is a Maestro, the future Hulk that kills all the MCU. It's about this big, and he's sitting on his throne, and he's got all like Strange's cloak. He's got Venom and Carnage in symbiote containers. He's killed everybody. I'd get that.
Yeah, I'd get that too. But again, you have the leverage. You have the hot toys you could trade in and probably buy that. But just saying. All right. What's next?
No,
I keep forgetting nobody can hear that.
I know. Iman, in my opinion, Phase 4 has been the most creative and daring. I can't wait to see what they come up with next. I think there's an argument to be made there that it is pretty creative and daring. What it doesn't have is the cohesion. We were going somewhere with Phases 1. Like even at the end of the title, the end title tag in Iron Man is like, I want to talk to you about the Avengers Initiative. Like, okay, we're going to get the Avengers. So we knew that after every movie, there was a destination point. I don't know what that destination point is.
I agree, but to me, that's not important. The cohesion is irrelevant to me. If the movies are good, nobody would care.
Right.
And if the movies are not good, then throwing in those little tags won't really make them any better. But you're right. They have swung. They've taken big swings. Eternals, which I like better than most people
Me too.
I don't think it's like a top 5 MCU movie or anything like that, but The Eternals was a massive swing. When you look at what they did with Ms. Marvel, I think that was a massive swing.
I agree.
Tonally. When you look at what they're doing, listen, I don't like the looks of Werewolf by Night, but damn, if they're not taking a big swing at trying something completely different, and you got to give them credit for that.
I do. Absolutely, 100%.
All right, what's
100%.
next?
Oh, wow. Levarsov says, Rob, a Daredevil hot toy for the next display. You know what, John? I don't have the Daredevil hot toy.
Do you have any Daredevil hot toy?
I do not, because they made one from the Netflix shows and they didn't make many, and I didn't buy it.
Oh,
I didn't buy it.
Well, that's okay. Matt wouldn't be able to see it anyway.
I didn't buy it. I want to get it one day. I have to tell you, I've gone back like I never got Quicksilver from Age of Ultron, and then somebody was selling it. I got it from the UK for a huge deal, huge discount, and that's when I picked it up. So old hot toys, sometimes you find deals on them when people are trying to sell them. Right. That's the way to get an older hot toy, because that's a pricey figure.
All right, what's next?
Daya Alashiror says, I recently did a...
By the way, sent in like a $20 super chat.
Yeah,
thank you, Daya.
Thank you so much. I recently did a rewatch of the first 2 seasons of Arrow and Flash, and I forgot how good the shows were. Slade, Merlin, Reverse Flash, and Zoom were pretty amazing villains. Really went downhill, but it was top tier before. Your thoughts? Well, I agree with that entirely.
The Arrowverse was fantastic for a while. I was the world's, I'm very comfortable in saying this, I was the world's biggest evangelist for Arrow. I love that show. I think with Stephen Amell, and I thought the very notion of the show was stupid before I started watching it. And then I watched it, Stephen Amell got me on board. You're right. I mean, the Slade's thing was great.
Yeah.
The villains, the characters, and then somewhere halfway through season 3, they got all Captain Buckles, and the show lost me. Flash was another show that I thought this was a stupid idea. And that show really won me over.
Yeah.
And right up until, I was actually right on board with it right up till about season 6. I really enjoyed it. I mean, I think it lost its way, and I don't watch it anymore. But when I look back on Flash, I will always look back on Flash and say I really enjoyed that show overall.
Yeah, agreed.
Yeah, and the first couple of years were killer, absolutely killer. All right, what's next?
That's it.
Oh, that's it. And guys, that'll do it. We're actually 1 hour on the nose. Perfect timing. That'll do it for today's installment of Open Mic. Thank you, everybody, for being here and making this show part of your day. Hey, guys, listen, a couple things to keep you guys aware of. Number one, don't forget to join us again tomorrow for the John Campea Show, 10:30 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. We hope to see you guys here. But also tomorrow at 3 p.m. Pacific Standard Time is our Andor after show. Of course, Andor comes out tonight, early tomorrow morning, depending on where you live. Make sure you come on back 3 p.m. tomorrow. We're going to be talking about it in all of its spoilery goodness. We hope you guys will join us for that as well.
I'm excited.
Want to thank Robert Meyer Burnett for being here. Robert, where can people follow you online?
You can find me on Instagram at RM Burnett, find me on Twitter at Burnett RM, or find me at Postgeek Singularity on YouTube or postgeeksingularity.com on my website, where you can send me letters.
And of course, you guys can follow me on social media simply at John Campea. That'll do it for me for today, guys. Thanks a lot for being here. And until next time, my friends, bye-bye.